ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 13, The Stealing of the Boys and Calves by Brahma, Text 2. Please repeat after me. Satam Ayam Sarabhritam Nisargaha Yat Arthavani Shruti Chetasamapi Pratikshanam Navyavat Achyutasya Yat Striyah Vitanam Iva Sadhuvarta Satamayam Sarabhritam Nisargo Yadarthavani Shruti Chetasamapi Pratikshanam Navyavad Achyutasya Yat Striya Vitanam Iva Sadhuvarta Satamayam Sarabhritam Nisargo Yadarthavani Shruti Chetasamapi Pratikshanam Navyavadachyutasya Yat Striya Vitanam Iva Sadhuvarta Satamayam Sarabhritam Nisargo Yadarthavani Shruti Chetasamapi Pratikshanam Navyavadachyutasya Yat Striya Vitanam Iva Sadhuvarta Sargo Yadarthavani Shruti Chetasamapi Pradikshanam Navyavadachyutasya Yat Striya Vitanam Iva Sadhuvarta Vritam Nisargo Yadarthavani Shruti Chetasamapi Pratikshanam Navyavadachyutasya Yat Striya Vitanam Iva Sadhuvarta. Mataji? Satam Pratikshanam Navyavadachyutasya Yat Striya Vitanam Iva Sadhuvarta. Satam of the devotees. I am this Sarabhritam, those who are Paramahamsas, who have accepted the essence of life. Nisargaha, feature or symptom. Yat, which. Arthavani, the aim of life, the aim of profit. Shruti, the aim of understanding. Chetasamapi, who have decided to accept the bliss of transcendental subjects as the aim and object of life. Pratikshanam, every moment, Navyavat, as if newer and newer, Achyutasya, of Lord Krishna, yet, because, Striyaha, topics of women or sex, Vitanam, of debauchees who are attached to women, Iva, exactly like, Sadhuvarta, actual conversation. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Founder Acharya of ISKCON. Translation: Paramahamsas, devotees who have accepted the essence of life, are attached to Krishna in the core of their hearts, and He is the aim of their lives. It is their nature to talk only of Krishna at every moment, as if topics were newer and newer. They are attached to such topics, just as materialists are attached to topics of women and sex. Purport: the word Sarabhritam means Paramahamsas. The Hamsa or swan accepts milk from a mixture of milk and water and rejects the water. Similarly, the nature of persons who have taken to spiritual life and Krishna consciousness, understanding Krishna to be the life and soul of everyone, is that they cannot give up Krishna Katha or topics about Krishna at any moment. Such Paramahamsas always see Krishna within the core of the heart. Santah Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. Kama, desires, Krodha, anger, and Bhaya, fear, are always present in the material world. But in the spiritual or transcendental world, one can use them for Krishna. Kamam Krishna Karmarpane. The desire of the Paramahamsas, therefore, is to act always for Krishna. Krodha Bhakta Dveshi Jane. They use anger against the non-devotees and transform Bhaya or fear into fear of being deviated from Krishna consciousness. In this way, the life of Paramahamsa devotee is used entirely for Krishna, just as the life of a person attached to the material world is used simply for women and money. What is day for the materialistic person is night for the spiritualist. What is very sweet for the materialist, namely women and money, is regarded as poison by the spiritualist. Sandarshanam Vishayinam Athayoshitam Cha Hahanta Hanta Vishabhakshantopya Sadhu. This is the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. For the Paramahamsa, Krishna is everything, but for the materialist, women and money are everything. So I'll read the translation again. Paramahamsas, devotees who have accepted the essence of life, are attached to Krishna in the core of their hearts, and He is the aim of their lives. It is their nature to talk only of Krishna at every moment, as if such topics were newer and newer. They are attached to such topics, just as materialists are attached to topics of women and sex. So, this verse is actually a continuation of the previous verse, where a similar message was conveyed by Shukdev Goswami. He said, O best of devotees, most fortunate Parikshit, you have inquired very nicely. For although constantly hearing the pastimes of the Lord, you are perceiving His activities to be newer and newer. So, Nutanayasi was used in the previous verse, and here it's Navyavad, Achyutasya Yat. So this word is being used. So it's a similar message, and uh, this this so this was discussed in the previous class, and here specifically there are few words which Shukdev Goswami uses for addressing Maharaj Parikshit. So he uses this word Sara Britam. So if you see in the previous verse, Shukdev Goswami addressed Maharaj Parikshit as most fortunate because he is interested in hearing Krishna's pastimes. And here he's telling the same message but in a third person. He's saying Paramahamsas or devotees who accept the essence of life are attached to Krishna in the core of their hearts. So first verse addressed Parikshit Maharaj directly, second verse is speaking generally about Paramahamsas, which basically indicates that he is referring to Maharaj Parikshit as a Paramahamsa. If we see the life of Shukdev Goswami and that of Maharaj Parikshit, it's a big contrast, at least before they came together to discuss the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukdev Goswami was a Paramahamsa. Shukdev Goswami is a Paramahamsa, and we can say he is the gold standard of Paramahamsa. Right? So we know that Srila Vyasadev, he compiled all the scriptures. So when we speak about Vyasadev, he is our utmost authority. But Shukdev Goswami can say kind of went beyond one step further, and he rejected everything that Vyasadev has compiled. He rejected all the four Vedas. He rejected the Karma Kanda, Purushana, Upasana Kanda, Jnana Kanda, everything he rejected. Well, not the Jnana Kanda part, but he did not want to study under Vyasadev. So whatever Vyasadev had compiled, he had no interest in that. So it's mentioned in, I think Brahma Vaivarta Purana comes that Shukdev Goswami, he was within the womb of his mother for 16 years and he did not want to come out. But he got the knowledge that if Krishna gives him the blessing, then he will not be contaminated by this material world. So he had, within the womb itself, he had his father bring Krishna to the place. And then once Krishna gave blessings that he will not be contaminated from this material world, then Shukdev Goswami came out. And as soon as he came out, he started going towards the forest. And he did not wear any clothes. He did not undergo any reformatory processes. He just went. So, this is a Paramahamsa. Nothing to do with this Vedic injunctions. Nothing to do with Varna and Ashrama institution. It's completely situated in transcendence. And, but Shukdev Goswami at this point was not or had not learned Srimad Bhagavatam from his father Vyasadev. So Vyasadev sent some of his disciples behind Shukdev Goswami and they recited few verses. So Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, he says that some pastimes were recited, although the shlokas, the exact shlokas which were recited is not mentioned, or it's not, it's not mentioned. So it is said that Krishna's killing of Putna was described and his pastimes in Dwaraka were described. Okay, so there were some 4 or 5 verses which were spoken and this attracted Shukdev Goswami. So he came back, learned Srimad Bhagavatam from Vyasadev and again he went out. So he was on the level of transcendence when he was born, but the true meaning of Paramahamsa was attained by him after he learned Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukdev Goswami. So till this point, if we see, Shukdev Goswami has been speaking Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit, and 9 cantos are complete. And at the end of the 9th canto, the 24th chapter, Shukdev Goswami kind of gives a test to Parikshit Maharaj to see if is actually eligible or he is really eager to listen to Lord Krishna's intimate pastimes, confidential pastimes. So what he does is, I think starting from the 55th verse of the 24th chapter of 9th canto, he starts speaking about Lord Krishna's pastimes, why he came to this material world, in which dynasty he came. Anyway, in the 24th chapter, the entire dynasty or his antecedents were all mentioned. Krishna's forefathers, so-called forefathers, are all listed, and then Krishna was born, and the activities he performed, and everything was completed within some 14 verses. So the last verse is the 67th verse, and within from 55 to 67, Shukdev Goswami narrated the entire Krishna's pastimes. Okay, and he stopped there. So 10th canto, you see, it starts with Parikshit Maharaj inquiring from Shukdev Goswami, and he says that you said that this is what happened in Krishna's pastime, but I want to hear more. I want to hear more, and to express that he is really qualified, he speaks a couple of verses which are actually quite famous. Srila Prabhupada made them famous. So he says this is Canto 10, Chapter 1, Text 4. He says, Nivritta Tarshir Upagiyamanat Bhavaushada Chotra Manobhiramat Ka Uttama Shloka Gunanuvadat Puman Virajyeta Vina Pashugnat. He says that you have stopped speaking about Krishna's pastimes. You complete that in 14 verses. But then, with your mercy, I think I have attained that qualification where I can hear about Krishna's pastimes. So this verse basically means, is Parishit Maharaj speaking to Shukdev Goswami. He says, glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in the Parampara system. That is, it is conveyed from spiritual master to disciple. Such glorification is relished by those no longer interested in the false temporary glorification of this cosmic manifestation. Which means he's saying that after I have heard from the lotus lips all these 9 cantos, I have nothing. I am no longer interested in this false temporary glorification of this cosmic manifestation. Descriptions of the Lord are the right medicine for the conditioned soul undergoing repeated birth and death. Therefore, who will cease hearing such glorification of the Lord except a butcher or one who is killing his own self? He says, I want to, so I cannot stop hearing the glorification of the Lord, because the way you have expressed Srimad Bhagavatam, the way the Lord's glories have been conveyed to me, and the Lord's glories itself are so magnanimous, so amazing, that anyone who is of sane mind, who has heard Srimad Bhagavatam, he will automatically be attracted and attached to Krishna's pastimes. And it may only be a butcher or one who wants to kill his own self, Atmaha, who may not be interested in this. So therefore, please don't consider me as one of these people who want to destroy their own self. So please speak about Krishna's pastimes. And further, he says, and then there are questions. And in the 13th verse of the same chapter, he says, because of my vow on the verge of death, I have given up even drinking water. Yet because I am drinking nectar of topics about Krishna, which is flowing from the lotus mouth of your lordship, my hunger and thirst, which are extremely difficult to bear, cannot hinder me. So, Paramahamsas are completely indifferent to the pangs of this material world. They're completely indifferent to their body. So Parikshit Maharaj is saying that I have also become indifferent. You know that till this 9th canto, there's almost like 4 days have passed, 3.5 to 4 days have passed. That's how it is. I think the 10th canto was spoken at around the 4th day or 4.5 day. Heard this from a lecture Guru Maharaj gave. So at around that time it was spoken, it seems. So all these 3-4 years which I have spent with you, although I have not drank any water and I have not been hungry, and I have been hearing only about the topics of Krishna, therefore, I am expressing my insignificant qualification that I indeed think that I am ready to hear about Krishna's pastimes. So like that he expresses in several verses, which basically he is humbly suggesting to Shukdev Goswami that with what you have taught me till now, I have attained the qualification required for hearing Krishna's pastime. So therefore, I am on that level. And Shukdev Goswami, hearing the sincerity or hearing all these prayers and questions from Parikshit Maharaj, he becomes very happy. And he glorifies Parikshit Maharaj as Paramahamsa. So this is the 15th verse of that same chapter. So there he says, Shri Shukavacha, Samyak Vyavasita Buddhis Tavarajarshi Sattama Vasudeva Kathayamte Yajjata Naishtiki Ratihi. So Shukdev Goswami says, O your majesty, best of all saintly kings, because you are greatly attracted to topics of Vasudev, it is certain that your intelligence is firmly fixed in spiritual understanding, which is the only true goal for humanity. Because that attraction is unceasing, it is certainly sublime. So here, Shukdev Goswami uses this word Naishtiki. Okay, so Naishtiki Ratihi. So Ratihi means attraction or attachment to a certain topic. And here specifically it's speaking about Samyak Vyavasita Buddhis. Your mind is completely fixed in the pastimes of the Lord. You are Rajarshi Sattama. You are the best of the saintly kings. And Vasudeva Kathayam. So your Ratihi is actually related to Vasudeva Katha. You are attracted to Krishna's pastimes. You are attracted to the narrations of the glories of Krishna. And this is Naishtiki. Naishtiki means continuous or unceasing. Okay, unceasing means permanent. We say, Naishtika Brahmachari means his Brahmacharya never gets stopped. His Brahmacharya is never hindered by any external influences. It just continues. So your ratihi, your taste, your attraction, your attachment to the Lord, to Vasudeva Katha is naishtiki, is continuous. It's always ever increasing. So therefore, my dear Parikshit Maharaj, you have attained the qualification of a Paramahamsa. Therefore, you can learn the pastimes of the Lord. And Shukdev Goswami further says that this pastimes which you are going to hear, or which you have been hearing about the other incarnations of the Lord over the different periods of Manvantara, and what you are going to hear now, it's actually purifying for the inquirer, the hearer, as well as the one who is speaking. So, my dear Parikshit Maharaj, you are not only helping yourself by asking all these questions, you are also glorifying, or you are also helping me by allowing me to speak on these topics. And you are the inquirer, and you are the hearer also, and I am the speaker, and because of that, and we both are on the same level, although this is not directly mentioned. It's not culture to say that I am a Paramahamsa, you are a Paramahamsa, but it's understood with the verses which are being spoken that we are, this is the perfect qualification. Shriman Shukdev Goswami speaks, this is the 16th verse. I'll just read this verse. He says, Vasudeva Katha Prashna Purusham Strin Punatihi Bhaktaram Prachakam Shrotrims Tatpada Salilam Yatha. This is one who is interested in inquiring about Vasudeva Katha, one who is speaking the pastimes of Krishna Vasudeva Katha, one who is and hearing it, one who is hearing Vasudeva Katha, they are all glorious, they all become purified. Okay, because the subject matter itself is glorious. Now, the inquirer here is Parikshit Maharaj, and the hearers are many. So, in that assembly in which Shukdev Goswami spoke Srimad Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj was of course there, Suta Goswami was there, then there was Narad Muni, Vyasdev, and so many other sages were also there. So, they were all hearers. And the speaker was Shukdev Goswami, and the inquirer was Parikshit Maharaj, and the subject matter which was spoken was Srimad Bhagavatam. So the focus here is on Srimad Bhagavatam because it is Paramahamsa Samhita. Paramahamsa Samhita. Srimad Bhagavatam is called Paramahamsa Samhita. So this work of Srimad Bhagavatam can only be discussed between the speaker who himself is a Paramahamsa, or discussed means it can be relished by the speaker who is a Paramahamsa and by the inquirer who is a Paramahamsa, the hearers who are Paramahamsas. So it is like that. And so Srimad Bhagavatam is special in that way. So we might think that we are not in that level. The speaker is definitely not a Paramahamsa. The hearers may be Paramahamsas, and the inquirer may be Paramahamsas, in this assembly at least. The speaker is definitely not a Paramahamsa. So how is it that we are discussing Srimad Bhagavatam here? So an analogy we can understand with that, there are Ayurvedic herbs. Okay, so when a child gets very sick, so Ayurvedic herbs are administered for curing his throat, for curing his fever and all, and the same herbs are continued for maintaining the health of the child also. Right, so there are Ayurvedic medicines, which are mixed with the mother's milk and then administered to the child, to the baby when he's born till he's 4 or 5 years old. So Srimad Bhagavatam is like that. Okay, so although it is meant for Paramahamsas, when the baby is sick or when we are sick by being conditioned by this material world, Srimad Bhagavatam cures us just like this medicine. And once we have been cured, once we are attained this transcendental position, then it sustains us there. The same medicine, by giving it to the child every day, day after day, it maintains the health of the child, and it increases his intelligence, it increases his immunity, it increases so many, the health of the baby, his bone strength, the proteins, vitamins, whatever he takes through his food is absorbed well when these medicines are administered to the child. Srimad Bhagavatam is like that medicine. When we are not at the Paramahamsa level, it acts as the purifying agent. Nashta Prayasha Abhadreshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavate Uttama Shloke, Bhakti Bhavati Neshtaki. So all the Abhadreshu, it's understood that there are some contaminations within the heart. So Srimad Bhagavatam purifies that. Right? Nashta Prayasha Abhadreshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So one should keep continuing hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And by that, just by performing this particular activity of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, of studying Srimad Bhagavatam, one can attain the level of Paramahamsa. Just like the baby attains good health just by being administered. So, once the baby is cured of whatever ailments or disease it has, then after that the health is maintained and health is nourished also. So, nourishment also happens. It's not only sustaining oneself in devotional service, it is also enhancing one's devotional ecstasy. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the center point here. And there are several verses in Srimad Bhagavatam which proves that this is a Paramhamsa Samhita. So the second verse itself of the Srimad Bhagavatam, first chapter, first canto, first chapter, Dharma Projita Kaitava Atra Paramo Nirmat Saranam Satam. So at the start itself, it's Paramahamsas. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that when water is mixed with milk, then Paramahamsas have the capacity to only accept, or Hamsas, Swan, have the capacity to only accept milk and they reject the water. Similarly, Paramhamsas, they accept that which is required or that which is Krishna Katha, that which is Krishna conscious, and they reject everything. So Srimad Bhagavatam also rejects all the other scriptures. Everything which is irreligion, Dharma, Projita, Kaitavatra, all the cheating religion are rejected at the start itself. And Parma Nirmat Saranam Satam, and it is meant for the Paramhamsas who are non-envious. Vedyam Vastam Atravastu Shivadam Tapatrayo Unmurnam Srimad Bhagavati Mahamuni Kritim Kimma Paridishvara. So when Srimad Bhagavatam is there is no other requirement of any other scripture. This itself is enough for attaining the highest stage of life. And in the same chapter, in the 19th verse, again, Shaunaka Rishi, he speaks, Svayam tuna vitripyama uttama shloka vikrame yachinvan yachinvatam rasagyanam swadu swadu pade pade. So it's not that we attain a particular stage and then we give it up, just like the Advaitavadis or Mayavadis say. We study the Upanishads, and once we have attained the transcendental knowledge, once we have attained, once we have understood, once we have realized that we are nothing of this matter, but we are spiritual, we are transcendental, then we should give up the Vedic literatures also. Because Vedic literatures basically represent duality for them. There is Brahman, and then there are the words of the Brahman, but Brahman does not have any qualities. So how can Brahman be expressed by words? So therefore the words of the Vedas are also Maya. It is only used for elevating oneself to transcendence. After you elevate oneself to transcendence, just reject them. Correct? That's what they think. But Srimad Bhagavatam is not like that. Srimad Bhagavatam, once we have assimilated this knowledge, once one attains the Paramahamsa stage, till there are newer and newer taste. There is Swadu Swadu Padu. Every step there is newer and newer taste. So therefore we like to hear the Katha, Uttama Shloka Vikrame. You please tell us about the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is mentioned. And at the conclusion of Srimad Bhagavatam, it's in Canto 12, Chapter 30, Text 18. It's mentioned Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Parvahamsyam Ekam Amalam Gyanam Param Giyate Tatra Gyana Viraga Bhakti Samitam Naishkarmyam Avishkritam Tat Shrinvan Supathan Vicharan Paro Bhaktya Vimuchye Naraha. So this is like the perfect glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam within Srimad Bhagavatam itself. So it's mentioned Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless Purana. It's Puranam Amalam. It is most dear to the Vaishnavas because it describes the pure and supreme knowledge of the Paramahamsas. So we who are not on the level of Paramahamsas, we learn about who the Paramahamsas actually are by studying Srimad Bhagavatam. It's complete in itself. Whatever philosophical knowledge we are supposed to get or we are supposed to learn as in this human form of life, this Athata Brahma Jigyasa, everything is present in Srimad Bhagavatam. Whatever we are supposed to learn about the science of God, who Krishna is or who Bhagavan is, what are his qualities, how he manifests this material world, what are his pastimes in the spiritual world, how he interacts with material world, what is the relationship with the Jiva, and all these different philosophical concepts, as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur calls in this Dashamula, the 10 principles of spiritual life are completely described in Srimad Bhagavatam. And the pastimes of the Lord, the Prayojana. So it includes all, Sambandha, Abhidaya, Prayojana, everything is there. So this is the pure and supreme knowledge of the Paramahamsas. And those who are on the Paramahamsa level, then how do they act is also explained. It actually specifically comes in the 7th canto when Narad Muni is concluding the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj. So there Prahlad Maharaj meets with one person who is following this Ajagra Vritti. So he is not moving anywhere, but still he looked very fat. So Prahlad Maharaj becomes very inquisitive and he asks him, how are you leading your life? So how it's understood what kind of person you are, how we can understand that. So all those details are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore, it is most dear to the Vaishnavas because it describes the pure and supreme knowledge of the Paramahamsas. This Bhagavatam reveals the means for becoming free from all material work, together with the process of transcendental knowledge, renunciation, and devotion. So there is jnana and there is vairagya. So devotion service can be cultivated only when these two are present. Vairagya Vidya, Nija Bhakti Yogam. So, Vairagya and Vidya, both of them should be there. If one of these two are not there, then one cannot make proper progress in devotion service. Detachment from the material world must be there. Detachment from anything, any type of sense gratification, gross as well as subtle, within the mind, using through the intelligence, all kinds of sense gratification should be given up. Then only one can progress properly in devotional service. So, Vairagya must be there. If Vairagya is not there, then one probably will be a mixed devotee, like the demigods. Right? Like the demigods. They are mixed devotees. They understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They understand that their duty is to serve Him, but still they are materially attached. So when we speak of Paramahamsas here, Paramahamsas are actually more than the administrative demigods. So that's why, for devotees who are following the footsteps of Paramahamsas, for devotees who are following Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, for them demigod worship is actually useless. Because we are doing a better worship by worshipping Srila Prabhupada, by worshipping Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and the great Acharyas. We are doing more service in that way than just going to the demigods. So demigod worship is actually not required, philosophically speaking also, because they are mixed devotees. Whereas Paramahamsas have nothing to do with this material world. And Vidya should be there. So Vairagya Vidya, Nija Bhakti Yogam. Vidya should be there because transcendental knowledge is what situates one perfectly in the concepts of pure devotion service. If knowledge is not there and only one has sentiment, Prabhupada said that what is that? Philosophy without religion is mental speculation, and religion without philosophy is just mere sentimentalism. Correct. So it becomes sahajiyas. One who does not cultivate knowledge of Krishna consciousness, he may apparently be performing devotion service, but he takes things cheaply. So it becomes contaminated with the influence of sahajiya. So all these three are required. But we cannot say, okay, Vairagya is most important and Vidya and Bhakti is secondary. No. Of all three, all three should go parallelly hand in hand, but devotion service always takes precedence. It's like a king. The king always takes precedence, although the retinue also goes along with him. So Vidya and Vairagya are like that. They are required for proper prosecution of devotion service, but they are not in and of itself important on their own. So this Bhagavatam reveals the means for becoming free from all material work, together with the process of transcendental knowledge, renunciation and devotion. Anyone who seriously tries to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, who properly hears and chants it with devotion, becomes completely liberated. Right? So Srimad Bhagavatam is for the Paramahamsas. It speaks of the Paramahamsas, it conveys the meaning of Paramahamsa, and it defines the path which the Paramahamsas follow, which we are supposed to traverse. And it is spoken by Paramahamsas and it is heard by Paramahamsas. So therefore, it's a Paramahamsa Samhita. Okay. And Srila Prabhupada, in the summary of the 7th canto, chapter 30, he writes specifically about Paramahamsas. So he says, a person who has attained the Paramahamsa stage knows very well the distinction between matter and spirit. So that means he has transcendental knowledge. Transcendental knowledge means to differentiate between matter and spirit. One who does not have this knowledge cannot differentiate between what is matter and what is spirit. That's why he becomes Sahajiya. That's what we discussed. Vairagya Vidya, Nija Bhakti Yoga. When Vidya is not there, one becomes Sahajiya. One starts thinking that material activities are also spiritual activities. So what do Sahajiyas do? They cheaply imitate the pastimes of Krishna. Right? So that is without knowledge. So Paramahamsas are not ignorant. Paramahamsas are not Sahajiyas. They are not ignorant. They are not conveying some artificial type of renunciation. They are completely situated in transcendental knowledge. And this is one of the reasons why Srila Prabhupada's purports, if we read, he speaks lots of philosophy, because that is what is required for us. We have to situate ourselves in proper philosophical consciousness, like in proper philosophical understanding and knowledge, and that is the only way where we can make progress in devotional life. So Srila Prabhupada's purports are meant for taking us to the stage of Paramahamsa, which requires starting with the distinction between matter and spirit. So Prabhupada continues, he is not at all interested in gratifying the material senses. for he is always deriving pleasure from devotional service to the Lord. See, in the first two sentences itself, he says that first one should cultivate the knowledge, Vidya should be there, then he's not interested in gratifying the material senses. So, Vairagya should also be there. And that comes when he derives pleasure from devotional service to the Lord. He is not very anxious to protect his material body. Being satisfied with whatever he attains by the grace of the Lord, he is completely independent of material happiness and distress, and thus he is transcendental to all regulative principles. Sometimes he accepts severe austerities and sometimes he accepts material opulence. His only concern is to satisfy Krishna, and for that purpose he can do anything and everything without reference to the regulative principles. He is never to be equated with materialistic men, nor is he subject to the judgments of such men. So when I read this, this is very pertinent with the life of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. So it's written here, right, that sometimes he accepts severe austerities and sometimes he accepts material opulence. So this is the case with Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati and Srila Prabhupada also. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, when he was performing Shatakoti Nama Yajna, he went to Mayapur in 1905 by the order of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he there decided to perform chanting. So Shatakoti Nama Yajna means chanting the names of the Lord 1 billion times, which means 192 rounds a day. Which means what Srila Haridas Thakur performed, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati did that every day to chant 1 billion names. Okay. So that time, what was his means? Was he living in one constructed house, palatial building and all? No. He cleared the place where there was Yog Peeth. He cleared that place. He constructed a thatched hut, and there he used to chant the names of the Lord. He did not wear stitched clothes throughout the entire time, which is around 9 years, 4 months. So for 9 years and 4 months, summer, winter, whatever came, he never wore stitched clothes or sweaters like that or jackets or anything of that sort. That's only unstitched cloth. And he used to eat only once in a day. He used to cook rice in a pot and he used to take that without salt. Okay, summer, winter does not matter. And whenever it used to rain, he used to hold an umbrella and keep on chanting. At the same time, he also used to manage the affairs of the temple, because Yog Peeth have been identified by that time. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, with the help of Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, they have located the actual place where Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born, and that is where he performed this Nam Yajna, extremely austere. And Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he said that he can see the austerity of Rupa and Raghunath in Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. So he was so austere. But once he came out of this austerity, this Shatakoti Nama Yajna, once is completed, then Kunj Bihari Prabhu, he recommended to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati that now I think it's time to preach. So you should go to Calcutta and start preaching. And when he went to Calcutta and started to preach, he was wearing leather shoes, leather jackets. He was driving around in cars. And car in those time is extremely rare. You only find all these Angrezi babus, these English babus going around in cars. You will not find anybody else. But he used to travel in car because that gave. Actually, Siddhanta Saraswati said that to attract people, we should dress better than them. We should be more learned than them. We should use facilities which is better than them, and that way they'll be attracted to us. In a mundane sense, that's correct, because people are attracted to opulence. People are attracted to knowledge. If someone is more knowledgeable than them, that sincere people are attracted to that person. If he has more opulence, then automatically they are attracted to him. So he started employing all these things to attract people, and of course it had its effect. People were attracted. So many big people became devotees. So was he a Paramhamsa when he was doing this chanting? Yes, he was. And was he a Paramhamsa when he was preaching, wearing all his leather jackets and boot? Yes, he was. So his mission was always transcendental. When he was secluded in one place and he was chanting his rounds, that time also he was completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And when he came out to preach, although externally it might look that he's even a bigger materialist than a normal materialistic person, Still, he was always absorbed in preaching Krishna consciousness. So he is a true Paramahamsa. And Srila Prabhupada also. When he used to go to the West, then he was accommodated in palatial rooms, he was accommodated in five-star hotels, he was driven around in Rolls Royals and so many other things. But when he came to Mayapur and then he went to Orissa, where, where Gaur Govind Maharaj was there at that point, then nothing. When he was in Mayapur also, before this long building was constructed, he was living in that Bhajan Kutir, that which is Bhajan Kutir now, he was living there through intense heat. Intense heat. Mayapur summer is so taxing actually. So he was living in there, not bothered about external circumstances. When he was in Orissa, just to kind of encourage the devotees there, he was living in a simple hut. And he was never bothered. He continued with his chanting, he continued with his preaching, he used to meet people, continued with his book writing. Wherever he went, the schedule was the same. And devotees, his disciples, were amazed that he never had jet lag. Wherever he used to go, devotees used to feel that jet lag. They used to feel drowsy and all. Prabhupada was completely fixed. No jet lag, nothing for him. Wherever you, just like he'll do his stuff. He'll do his Krishna conscious activities in a very perfect manner. So they are Paramahamsas. Right? So this is the level of Paramahamsa, the stage which we aspire to attain, but definitely it's a very long way to go. But hope is always there. Hope is always there. What we are supposed to do is study Srimad Bhagavatam, understand Srimad Bhagavatam properly, like this. Now this verse also has another word here. Shukdev Goswami specifically uses this word Achyutasya. So he says, Satam ayam sarabritam nisargo yadarthavani chetasamapi pratikshanam navyavad achyutasya yat striya vitanam ivasadhu varta. So he says, Yad arthavani shruti chetasamapi. So Srila Prabhupada in his word to word defines it in a different way. Arthavani, he says, the aim of life, the aim of profit. Shruti, he says, the aim of understanding. Chetasamapi, he says, who have decided to accept the bliss of transcendental subjects as the aim and object of life. So this is perfect understanding. Acharyas, they explain it in a different way. They say, Yad arthavani shruti chetasamapi. So of those people who have the nature of sarabritam nisargo. Nisargo means nature. So their nature is to always gather the essence. And what essence are they hankering of? Their essence, they are hankering after the essence of each every moment. Pratikshanam, navyavad, that which is newer and newer, fresh and fresh, of Achyutasya. And through what means? Through Vani, by speaking. Through Shruti, by hearing. And Chetasam, who are absorbed in meditating on the pastimes of the Lord. So through these three agencies, they are always engaged or they are always absorbed in the Katha of Achyutasya, which are newer and newer. So, if you see now the Sarabhritam and Achyutasya are connected because those Paramahamsas who are always after this essence, they are always hankering through their Vani, Shruti and Chetasa to hear the pastimes of the Lord every moment, Pratikshanam. And if you see the Paramahamsas and Achyuta, they are like on a similar level. Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he says, Vitaraga Bhayakruta Manmaya Mamapashitaha Bhavo Jnana Tapasa Bhuta Mad Bhavam Agataha. This is one of the verses. There are several verses where Krishna speaks that the devotees who are engaged in transcendental devotional service, they attain my nature. Right? They attain my nature, he says. Mad Bhavam Agataha. They attain my nature. So these are the Paramahamsas who attain his nature. So when Krishna is called Achyuta, there are several ways in which this word Achyuta can be understood. And the qualities of Achyuta are applicable to the Paramahamsas also. There are some of these qualities which we can discuss. So, Achyuta, the exact or the direct meaning of it actually means infallible. There are several meanings. The most commonly used meaning, which Srila Prabhupada explains in several of his purports and lectures, is infallible or one who never falls down. Similarly, Paramahamsas also, they never fall down. So one who has attained the stage of Paramahamsa in pure Krishna consciousness, he never falls down. And one who falls down, he never attained the stage of Paramahamsa. So their consciousness never fails. So Paramahamsas are also Achyuta because they have a similar nature as the Lord. Achyuta means they do not fall down. Just like Krishna never falls when he comes to this material world, the Paramahamsas, when they are within this material world, also never fall down. They don't come under the influence of the three modes of material nature. Although apparently their activities look like that. When Krishna was here, he came, Kuda Kapata Manushaha, just like a human being. All his activities look just like that of a human being. Although he was never influenced even for one single moment by this material nature. Sparasa Shakti Vividhaiva Shruyate, Swabhaviki Jnana Balakriyacha. He has multifarious energies, and the material world, the metal energy is not even one of his prominent energies. The spiritual energy is his prominent energy. The metal energy is not even his prominent energy. So how can he get influenced by the metal energy or can come under the control of this metal energy? That is not possible. So just like Krishna never falls down, the Paramhamsas also, they never get contaminated by this material energy. Apparently, it might look that the Paramhamsas also sometimes lament, and they also have to take care of their family responsibilities. Srila Prabhupada is a classic example of great Acharya. That although it may look that before he met Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, his activities looked mundane. He was engaged in business activities. He was going after money. He was trying to earn money, this, that, and all. But it is to be understood that they are always Paramahamsas. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's life also, it might look that he's studying something else. He studied Christianity. He was practicing Islam also for some time. Like that, when we speak about the life of these acharyas, chronologically speaking, we might list them like that. But what is the proper understanding is that they are always Paramahamsas. They come from the spiritual world only for the benefit of other living entities. Even if we see Krishna's pastimes also, apparently he also lamented when Shalva came to Dwaraka in his flying airplane to fight with Krishna, and then he caught hold of Vasudev, this illusory Vasudev, and he cut off his head. And Krishna lamented, saying, "Oh, how is it possible?" So he was bewildered for some time. Now, it might seem that, oh, now Krishna is influenced by the metal energy. But was he really influenced? It's part of the pastimes. That is how it's to be understood, correct? Even in the previous chapter, we saw Krishna was worried when all the cowherd boys started going into Akasura's mouth. He was worried, oh, what is to be done now? So there was this moment of anxiety which Krishna experienced. Although he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is Agasura compared to him? Nothing. But still that anxiety is there. Who is Shalva compared to Krishna? Nothing. He is there in Paramatma. He wants to kill him, can kill him within a moment. But he undergoes these pastimes. So Paramahamsas also, they undergo this pastime, but it should be understood that they are never influenced actually. They are transcendental to everything that is material. Correct? So their judgment is never less than perfect. So Krishna's judgment of understanding situation, of explaining the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, of explaining Uddhava Gita to Uddhava, his knowledge is perfect. So Paramahamsa's knowledge is always perfect. And another meaning which is attributed to this word Achyuta is that the Lord never falls down, and those who are his pure devotees, who are his dear devotees, he makes sure that they also don't fall down. And he always protects them. So Achyuta has these two meanings. One is the Lord never falls down, and he makes sure, he ensures that his devotees never fall down. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Declare boldly, O Arjuna, my devotee never perishes. He declares in Bhagavad Gita itself. And it is seen in, when Arjuna was in a very bewildered state, then Krishna gave the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to him. He did not reject him, saying, oh, what you are speaking is completely useless. You're not a Kshatriya. I don't want to associate with you. Such kind of friend I don't need. You be on your own. You go and take sannyas. I will go and fight myself. Or do something like that. I want to establish Yudhishthira Maharaj as the emperor. If you don't want to fight, I can manage everything myself. Which he was completely capable of. But then he did not reject Arjuna that way. He gave him the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, he did not reject Ajamila. He did not reject Gajendra because he was just an elephant, an animal. So the Lord never rejects his surrendered devotees. So that is also one of the meanings of Achyuta. And similarly, the Paramahamsas also never reject their followers. Srila Prabhupada, whom else do we have to go to, right? He never rejected his disciples. Sannyasis, he used to give sannyas for preaching purposes. Sannyasis fell down, grihasthas having different illicit affairs here and there, devotees not able to follow properly. So many issues he had to face, but he never gave up on his devotees, on his disciples. So this is Paramahamsa's quality. He manifests the quality of nature, of the nature. He manifests the qualities of Krishna. Not that he becomes Krishna, of course, but then he manifests these qualities because he has attained the same compassion. He has gained the qualities of compassion. Gained in the sense that he has, or Krishna's compassion and mercy is manifested through the Paramahamsas. We have to understand it that way. And they also become very, very sorry for the people of this material world. This verse is quoted in here in the purport. Srila Prabhupada writes, he quotes this verse from Madhya Leela, chapter 11:8. Sandarshanam Vishayinam Atha Yoshitam cha ha hanta hanta visha bhakshanato pyasadhu. So, if you see the translation of this verse, it goes like this. Greatly lamenting, the Lord then informed Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, alas, for a person who is seriously desiring to cross the material ocean and engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord without material motives, so this is a Paramahamsa, seeing a materialist engaged in sense gratification or seeing a woman who is similarly interested is more abominable than drinking poison willingly. So, in the purport of this particular verse, Srila Prabhupada, he speaks about the compassion of the living, of the Paramahamsas. So he is not supposed to look at these people who are actually engaged in these activities. But when a Paramahamsas see them, he actually becomes compassionate on them and he wants to elevate them. Right? So that is also there. So that's one of the qualities. Just like Krishna wants to elevate his desire. What is Krishna's desire? Krishna's desire is that all living entities within this material world come back to him. Be happy with him. Why struggle? Why suffer in this material world? So Paramahamsas manifest the same consciousness. They have the same compassion. And Achyuta also means one who never falls down from, or one who never becomes miserable. So when we speak about falling down, it's not only falling down into the material nature, one whose bliss never diminishes, whose happiness never reduces. So the Paramahamsas, their happiness also never reduces because Paramahamsa's only desire is pratikshanam. Every second they have to discuss about the pastimes of the Lord, and with that they are getting nava rasa. Each and every moment they are getting this new and new happiness, new and new bliss, which actually fixes them completely, and they cannot divert. Just like, at least I can speak of myself, it is so difficult to be Krishna conscious. For Paramahamsas, it's impossible to be not Krishna conscious. So we are actually kind of in the opposite spectrum. We have to travel that entire path to go to that place. So that's how it is now. Then, then Srila Prabhupada also speaks about he quotes from Srila Narottam Das Thakur's Prema Bhakti Chandrika, this Kamam Krishna Karmarpane, Krodha Bhakti Dveshi Jane. So Srila Narottam Das Thakur writes that whatever desires one may have, that intense lusty desire or intense greed, intense desire and anger, all these things can be employed in Krishna consciousness, and Paramahamsas actually have these transcendental qualities which they employ in Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada was greedy to basically propagate Krishna consciousness all over the world. He used to become angry with the impersonalist who used to deride the form of the Lord, who used to deride the names and qualities of the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada is a perfect example as Paramahamsa. And here, in this verse, Shukadeva Goswami is basically glorifying Parikshit Maharaj that you have indeed attained that stage of Paramahamsa and now you are perfect. To basically not only understand and listen to the pastimes of Krishna, but actually relish them, experience the relish and nava rasa. That when that happiness is there, then the fear of death is gone. See, Parikshit Maharaj is about to die in another 2 days. But because he has attained the stage of Paramahamsa, there's no fear for him anymore. Because the bliss of Krishna consciousness is so intense that one becomes completely detached from his material body. He is indifferent to whatever happens to his material body. Die, take birth, doesn't matter. Because the consciousness is fully Krishna conscious. Right? Okay, so I'll stop here. If you have any questions. it's not contradictory. So preaching, yes, yes. So the question is that in the lecture it was mentioned, I mentioned that the Paramahamsas always remains a Paramahamsa, but we also see in Prabhupada's books that an Uttamadikari, he comes to the level of Madhyamadikari for preaching purposes. So how do we understand? Are these two statements contradictory? Well, it's not contradictory, because when the Uttamadikari comes to the position of Madhyamadikari, it's not that his consciousness now becomes that of a Madhyamadikari. His consciousness, his Krishna consciousness, his consciousness is actually that at the level of Paramahamsa only. Externally, he takes the activities of a Madhyamadikari and then he preaches. Okay, so it's not that the consciousness also comes down to that of a Madhyamadikari or a Kanishtadikari. That does not happen. So that is why it is also said when a Kanishtadikari preaches to devotee, to outside people, he may not be very effective. A Madhyamadikari, because he has good understanding of what is what, he has good understanding of the transcendental knowledge, and he preaches, then it is effective. Devotees take up, or people take up Krishna consciousness. But when a Uttamadikari comes and preaches, then he makes devotees by thousands. Prabhupada, when he came and he preached, devotees are made, like devotees are joining in thousands, in hundreds and thousands. That is possible for an Uttamadikari because he is on that level. And only for external preaching purposes, he has to differentiate between one who is within the material grasp, the grasp of material nature, one who is a devotee. He has to differentiate between devotees and non-devotees. So that external garb he takes for the purpose of preaching. But that does not mean that his consciousness also falls down to the level of Madhyamadikari. That does not happen. So a Paramahamsa always remains a Paramahamsa. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Correct. Mm. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Correct. Although it's mentioned here that just like these, they are attached to such topics. That is, materialists are attached to topics of women and sex, but this is in a different level. One does not get newer and newer taste. Although the comparison is made here, but this attachment, materialist attachment to women and sex, it's not newer and newer. The bliss which is experienced in Krishna consciousness is much more elevated than this totally insignificant. This actually the acharyas explain this particular point. Because we can relate to it, materially conditioned, we can relate to it. It kind of makes sense to us. But the acharyas, I think all the acharyas, Sridhar Swami, Sanatana Goswami, everybody, all of them, they contradict it. Although it's mentioned like this, but actually it is to be understood in reference to this word achyuta. That this bliss or happiness or so-called happiness which materialists face with women and sex is actually, it's not achyuta, it's chuta. It is totally degraded. But here we are talking about this namvevad achyutasya yat. Each and every moment one may be thinking about women and sex in the material consciousness. But one who are devotees, they are pratikshanam namvevad achyutasya yat, because it is not fallible, it's infallible. But although it's much as triyavitanam, it is fallible. It's not achyuta, it's chuta. Yes, correct. Yeah, never satisfied. We're always looking for new things. Yes. But Srimad Bhagavatam, 18,000 shlokas, that's it. You don't need the 18,001 shloka. It's not required. 18,000 shlokas are enough for attaining higher and higher bliss. Thank you. Can stop. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.